Hi everyone and welcome. I'm Olga Makarova, Marketing Manager here at COFAS, and I'll be guiding you today through our Urba360 session. I'm really excited to have you all here with us as we dive into Urba and how it can help you make smarter business decisions. Before we begin, I'd love to get a sense of where everyone stands regarding Urba. So let's start with a quick poll to gauge your familiarity with this tool. And you will see a pop-up on your screen now. Here you go. Please participate. We would love to know where you stand with Urba. Just a few seconds to get the results. Okay, thank you so much. We can see that about 40% of you are using it already, and 60% are just getting to know the product. That's great. Thank you so much for participating. And now I'd like to introduce you to our host, Christian Molinaro, our product champion, who will be guiding you through Urba360, its features, use cases, and best practices to help you get the most out of the tool. I would like to give you just a few housekeeping notes. The webinar will last for about 30 minutes, followed by a question and answer session. On the bottom right, you see questions tab. Please feel free to drop your questions there during the webinar, and we will answer them live. And before we get started, here's another quick poll for you. What's your biggest challenge when it comes to managing credit or supply risk? You will see another pop-up right now. You can answer it with in a multiple way, and if it's other, please feel free to share your opinion in the chat. Okay, you have so many answers. Thank you so much for being such active participants. Okay. Well, I see that for most of you, it's the lack of real-time data as well as difficulty in forecasting risks. Thank you for these insights. Hopefully that at the end of the session, you'll have more clarity about how to address these challenges. And with that, Christian, I pass the floor to you.
Okay, thanks, Olga. And it's a real pleasure to be here and share with you these 30 minutes. I'm Cristian Molinaro. I'm product champion in COFAS BI, in particularly in region MAR, Mediterranean. And since Urba started, I was part of the project, so I know quite well how it was born, how we created this tool, and how we want to make it grow with in the future. Today, we will see a short presentation of what it is Urba, how it's built, so the foundation of our model that we have in COFAS, because as you will see, the model and how we put ourselves on the market is quite unique compared to the other business information provider. And we will do a quick trip on Urba with a live session so we can see how it works in reality with some tips that I can share with you to use it for particularly 3 areas of expertise. The first one is pre-check. So when I get a new customer and I want to see which is his status, when I want to cover my portfolio, so to monitor my active portfolio, and the most important in particular in this specific moment, how I can manage my supply chain when I need to have a good way to manage a very critical part in risk management. So let's start. If you have any question, you can write in the chat. I would like to make an interactive session. So if I have a question, I will try to give a feedback immediately, just to create something more interactive, as I said. Okay, first of all, when we speak about Urba360, of course, we need to speak about who we are and why COFAS is so different, as I said, from the other one. In the scenario of the business information provider, COFAS is completely different because it's the only information provider that as a real risk in the market. When you think about normally business information provider, normally they give an opinion, score, rating, and so on, but there is not a real risk behind. Because they just give you information about what's happening on the market. For us, it's completely different, because every day we need to take decision, we need to have a risk on the market, and as you can see on the slide, normally we have under control and under coverage more or less 670 billion of euro in trade credit insurance across 200 countries. As you can imagine, for us, it's necessary to have the best model in place to take to take a risk with a good model. Otherwise, it will be a risk. It will be a big issue for us to take this kind of risk without this accurate model. The idea of Urba360 is exactly to share with you the same model that we use when we do our activity of business of a credit insurer. The second point that I want to align with you is our team to take this decision and to cover this risk. We are forced to have people, expert on the market, underwriters in all the countries, that they need to know good the company, they need to go on the field, they need to know what's happened on the market. So it's a human asset, let me say, that as a cost for everyone, and for us it's important to have it, and we leverage it when we share with you this information. So it's something that is pretty unique on the market, because we have people that have boots on the ground, that knows the companies, make interviews, and so on. And this expertise, it's something really invaluable that we can share in our BI product. And of course, now more or less 50,000 clients all around the world use Coface. So it's a market. You can see some brands that normally use our model and use our services. These are some of the key aspects that we take into consideration when we do our evaluation. Our score is called DRA, Debtor Risk Assessment, and to build up this score, as I said, for TCI and of course for BI, because we share the same methodology. As you see, we have several points that we take into consideration all around the world. We are pretty unique also for this point, because we take decision in 200 countries all around the world. So as you can see, the first important is the first one in the north, payment incidents. Of course, it's something very unique, pretty unique, that we have in Coface, and it identifies if a company has a claims or extension with Coface. So it's something very unique. It's a proprietary data that we use to make assessment in our data, and it's something that really has an impact when you do an evaluation, normally based on official data. Of course, we have all the historical trends, the balance sheet analysis. We take where is available balance sheet in all the countries where is available. We have data enhancement made by our field credit analyst on the market, as I said. We have financial. So we are capable to take information that are not only official, not only the standard business information data that you find on the market, but we can add and make adjustment with pretty unique information that, as I said, are based on our way to have to be a trade credit insurer player. All these topics are reflected in Urba360. The concept of Urba360 is to have a platform of business information, very intuitive, with a pretty UX, where you can deep dive and see all the data of your customer in a unique view. So this is something that we will see in our demo. But as you can see, we have all the part of the evaluation in the unique view. So we have, for example, we start from the score. So the DRA, Debtor Risk Assessment, that I mentioned before, is calculated from 0 to 10 and give the score about the probability this company could have a default in the next 12 months. a score is important, but it's also important to have a credit opinion, and we have our credit opinion that gives you an idea of what is our willing to take a risk on this company. We have all the financial, where are available 3 years of financial. We have the sector, where the company is involved, because risk on the market, it's nothing if you don't compare in the sector. Every sector has its specificity, and also the country. The same risk taking a country is not the same risk that I can take in another country. So it's important also to have this information, and COFAS about the country and sector publish every quarter some analysis about this information. So we leverage also in our analysis. And last but not least, as I said before, late payment index. So the track record about claims and extension that we had in COFAS. So this is the first view that we have in Urba, and after I show you how you can deep dive and see all the details. The evaluation is compiled with all this information at the same time, in real time. When you click, you can click and get the information where they are available. Of course, this is something that you can access everywhere. It's a tool that you can use from your computer, from your iPad, from your iPhone, or and wherever you want. Is integratable. You can integrate it also with an API, and you can see the status of your portfolio in everywhere, anytime. These are some information about why use Urba360. Of course, what I can tell you is how it's easy to have access to information. It's very simple. You can use it for regulatory compliance, for market agility. It's global and also for local market. It could be adapted in any market. And it's something really useful to cover all your needs in each country. So now we can go and see how it works in reality. I share my screen, and if you have some question, maybe I see something. Katarina, okay, when do you expect to include ESG view in the report? This is a super interesting point. As we know, ESG score are more and more interesting in this moment, and I can tell you that this is one of the topic that we want to put in the view. As you see, I make a short deep dive here. Now when we started, we had 6 part in the wheel. We call it wheel normally internally, and we aim to put a new information. One is related to ESG, and another one is related to AML, so anti-money laundering, sanction, and so on. So these are 2 topics that we want to cover very soon. It's a platform where we release on a regular basis new information. But it's a very good point, Katarina, that we need to have very soon. Okay, I share my screen. Okay, you should see now. Okay, just I want to do a test if it works. Okay. Okay, so we are in Urba360, so you can see how it works. We have here, for example, when you land in, you have the first page where you can make a search on a company. You can choose if you want to do a search by a company name or an ID, a legal ID, or easy number. Easy number is a unique identifier that we have in COFAS. I am Italian, so I'm Italy as predefined countries, but you can choose really any countries you want to check. So here you can make the search, and here you have my portfolio, so with the information of the portfolio that you have under monitoring. As I told you, Urba360 it's super important for 3 use cases, main use cases that we identified in these months and these years. The first one for sure is pre-check. So I want to, I need to work with a company. I need to make a pre-check to understand it. The other 2 is related to a portfolio of companies and portfolio of suppliers. In this case, Urba360 is super nice because you have here, you can make your search, and when you identify a company, you can see the company in your portfolio with some, you see some identifier that helps you to understand the status of a company. Just to show you a company, and after we will go in the portfolio, here I can search a company in my portfolio by name, by customer reference, by company ID. And for example, I want to show you a company just to show you how it works. This is an Italian company. I play at home, let me say. So I share an Italian company. Here you see when I have a company, I have all the data that I mentioned before. So as Urba, I have the credit opinion, so our DRA, the score, our DRA, credit opinion, our evaluation, so our suggestion in terms of exposure. Of course, it's just a suggestion. I have an evaluation on the sector, on the country, financial, and late payment index. Here, as I mentioned to Katarina, we will put new slices in the wheel to be more precise and to have more details in the future. So the idea is to have a view with all the data. The color also helps us to understand the status of each wheel. So from good, keep track, warning, in progress, not available. And if I scroll down, I can see the DRA, credit opinion, financial, late payment index, country, and sector. Let's start from the score. So the score is the most important. What I really like is that you have a score from 0 to 6 with a PDI, so a probability of default, and the history of the score. This is really interesting because you could have an information about the score of a company today, but also you can see the trend. You can see if the trend is flat in these cases, what is the score of this company in 2020, 2021, because if you need to take risk with someone, it's important to know which is the status today, but also to understand what's happening in the past and have a good history of what this company made in the past to deal with it. If you go in the credit opinion, you see the recommendation of COFAS in this case is 40k euro, and you can also leverage some information that our risk underwriter team put here in the evaluation. Remember when I told you before that one of the pillar of COFAS is to leverage the TCI expertise. So if some of the credit insurers put here pretty interesting information, you can see it and take advantage of it. After, if we go back, we see country risk assessment. Of course, this is an information really interesting if you work across several countries. So you can see how the valuation of the risk, for example, in this case in Italy, evolved. And as I told you, every quarter we make as COFAS a new evaluation on the risk. And in the sector, you have more or less the same. So an evaluation of the sector in the country, in this case, this company is in the sector electric equipments, electronics, so in ICT normally. And you see also in the region, so you can have an information about the country and in the region where this country is placed. So it's super interesting, as I told you. If you work in several sectors in several countries, you can also take decision based on it. Late payment index, as I told you, super interesting because it's unique as the risk underwriter support that I mentioned before. No negative experience, so there is no negative payments with COFAS. Some negative experience, considerable negative experience. This is the main part that we take in consideration to make adjustment on the valuation that we take on the market. So this is, as I said before, something pretty unique in our evaluation. Of course, we have also financial, because now what we are seeing on the market is that the financial are really important to assess a company. And here you can have some information about the peers on the market. So which is the status of this company compared to with the peer on the market in the same sector. So you can see how this company change and how this company is compared with the market. You can see several index about financial, profitability, solvency, and liquidity. So it's the idea of Urba also is to be very how you use it also. It's super interesting because it's really interactive and you can play a lot with the platform. It's a new way to also to see business information. And of course, we have financial. So you can also deep dive and see all the financial, all the details in the last 3 years. And also you can download the file in Excel. So if I click here, I get an Excel with all the data downloaded here. If I do some analysis and I do some assessment and where I need this kind of information. I go back. So here I have the evaluation of the company. I can order an update. I can put under monitoring this company. So if I put under monitoring, I will get through email some changes. For example, if the score change, if the credit opinion change, if there is a new financial, I will get a monitoring. I can get a report, because the idea of Urba360 is to use the platform and to serve the platform and to get all the information I need. But we know very well that sometimes I need to have a report or I need to export a PDF, because sometimes I need to share this information in my company. So here I can download a PDF. So I can have an extract of what I can see here in a PDF in this case, and I can do whatever I need, or I can get a report to different level, light and full. I can edit, and I have a report. Also because I need to share or I need to deep dive, because here I have legal events, I have the management, partners, related company, and I have also the financial. So something that maybe you already saw in other IP and another business information provider is also available where it's needed, also in Urba360. So I get my company, I can go in my portfolio and I see a recap of all my portfolio, and I can filter. I can search by name, as I told you, some by country, by sector, by score, late payment index, credit opinion, and the update. Why I could do this? Because, for example, if I need to cover my supply chain, I can see which is the status and the risk of my suppliers. I can see which is the credit opinion of some company. I can start from the, for example, from the most interesting company with the credit opinion and the update that I get on this company. And I can put also a reference. When I make a request, for example, I can put a reference here, my reference. This is an internal reference that I can put in an order, and I can also find in my portfolio. So I can put something like a customer number, a supplier number that I can search and find very easily in my portfolio. So just to summarize, with Urba360, we can assess all around the world with the best information available on the market and leverage the expertise of COFAS as a credit insurer. I can search a company with a search everywhere, and I can have also a portfolio, my portfolio, where I can have all the information I need, and I can also get notification when something happens on my portfolio. So this is the best way to leverage business information in a very new way, with new added value data, and also how you use it is completely different from what you normally see on the market. I stop to share my screen. Okay. Katarina, okay, I see a new message from Katarina concerning the FS with the assessment be on the annual report only. We have super interesting, Katarina, this point. As I mentioned before, our DRA, our evaluation is based, of course, on the official data, so financial, for example, or if we have negative events or something that you find on the market. But let me tell you in this way. If as COFAS, if we take our decision about risk based only on financial, we will have a lot of claims. Why? Because the financial are updating. If we are lucky, for example, I share what happened in Italy. If we are lucky, we have financial in 2023. Now we are in the end of 2024. So if we take decision based only on the official data, our level of claims of risk will be so high that we will not be able to be on the market. So of course, we take in consideration official data, and financial are the most common where we have it, but to take risk and to take a decision, we need to do more. And to do more, we have interview with the CFO, we have an interview with the credit manager, we take data on the market where is available, we have late payment index, as I mentioned. So we have people on the ground that speak and have a conversation with the company and take midterm balance sheet, for example, because it's interest also of the company to be assessed by COFAS, for example, if they need to be covered by us. So it's a mutual needs to be assessed, to have a good coverage, and for us to have the best information. So it's a really interesting point. Catalina, what is the difference between COFAS and their business information provider? More or less what I mentioned. The other information provider normally take information from the official source and they create with an algorithm an automatic score that is pretty good. Because we have a relation with them all around the world, but in the environment that we have after COVID, with the inflation that we have, we are there are a lot of tense situation in all around the world. If we take decision based only on this point, we will not be able to have a good score. So for us, these are just the first level of our foundation, but after we have payments, COFAS payments that make adjustment on this score. We have our credit analyst, field analysts that are on the market, that they take information on the market. We have assessment of the country. We have assessment on the score. So these are the most important things that we can share compared with the market. I see another one. Ways to use to analyze payments behavior, whether the conversation is more fun, where other information besides the balance sheet is more limited. Okay, in this case, where does it comes from? They comes from exactly from our customer in the TCI environment, in TCI market. What's happened if you have a coverage with us, and there is some of your customer doesn't pay, you need to notify this unpayment. So normally this extension and claims, when you notify this information, we have this information in our service, in our database. This is super important for an insured company, because it's the condition to be paid. So we are able to collect all this information directly from our customer because it's part of our TCI activity. Load this information about the ultimate beneficial owner. Yes, really good point. It's part of the DRA, but we don't show it still now. It's part, we are working, for example, as I mentioned, ESG, AML, UBO, ultimate beneficial owner, and on family tree. So it's something that we are working on. But it's already in the DRA, we use it, but we don't show it because we are building up this solution. I don't know if you have other question or I leave to Olga.
Let's wait maybe a little bit more for a few more questions to come, if
Yes.
our audience has any. Yeah, we see more questions coming in.
Okay, super.
Okay, I have one in the questions tab.
API capabilities, I see from Hassan. Yes, and to be honest, all the world of business information in COFAS started exactly from API. So the first level of service that we started to do a lot of years ago was just through APIs, and after we build up all the front end solutions. So yes, with API we have integration with several players. We saw in the slides some company where we work with API, but normally we work with API with financial institution, for example, because they need more data. So yes, it's something that we are capable to do, and it's something that are part of our foundation, let me say.
Christian, we have a question in the questions tab. How are trade insurance insights visible in Urba?
Sorry. Okay, because I just seeing
Yeah,
the
we have a
question.
chat in the questions. Yes.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. It was loading. Our trade insights visible in Urba. Okay. Normally, you can see the first impression that you can have about trade credit insurance. It's for sure late payment index, because as I mentioned, late payment index is the information about the payments that this company had with COFAS. So if we track some experience versus COFAS, we have this information available in the late payment index. So it's an index that could have no events, let me say. So we don't have events with this company. If we could have some considerable events and very bad events in case of claims and so on. So this is the most important from my point of view, because it's something that differentiates COFAS a lot on the market. The other one is credit opinion. Credit opinion is our credit limits, or our idea of credit limits that we can share with the company. Of course, it's not coverage because it's not TCI, but it's we share our willing of risk with this company, and the score. The score, it's our DRA, so it comes directly from the TCI world. Okay, in the chat, which are the countries for which we cannot order Urba? Normally, as you see, as you saw in the list, we have capabilities to have normally all the countries in Urba. There could be some countries where the information is not in real time, because there is not capabilities to have a direct gateway with a local IP. But the logic of COFAS is if I need to take a risk in a part of the world, I need to have information. So we need to have capabilities to get information all around the world. The only difference is the time response, because if we speak about countries where we have connection with all the sources, we get data immediately. In other, you need to wait a couple of days. What are the most complex markets in terms of access to data, and how is COFAS handling data? Normally, I can reply that normally where the markets are more risky in terms of insolvency and so on, more the data are available, because the perception of risk is much higher. So normally I can tell you that, for example, agro-food, textile, transport and logistic are one of the most complex market in terms of insolvencies and risk. So, and normally the data are historically more available there. Where is most complicated is, for example, in aerospace, for example, because the risk it's less than the other, or in a very small companies where the access to the data are more complex, and we need to have other ways to take information, so people who ask and take information directly in the market. Do you have information about the companies from Middle East? Yes, we have information also there. In Middle East, we have also a branch of COFA, so we know very well the situation. So based on the country of Middle East, because Middle East is quite high, so depending on the country, yes, we can have access to information. How fast is the report turnaround time? If a company is not existing in the Urba database, can we order the report, and how fast can we obtain the report? Okay, this is related to the previous point, because there are market where we have information immediately, and market where we need days to take information. I can tell you that in the worst scenario, in a very complex market, normally it's the maximum days, the average, let me say, it's around 6 days, the average. So we have countries where we have it in 1 day, 2 days, countries where we need 8 days, more or less, the most complex. Which are Urba's advantage countries? Sorry, what do you mean with that, with advantage countries in this case? If I can ask you to rephrase it. Thanks.
Maybe it's countries with the best score.
Okay, the country where we have more information. Normally, we have most information is where COFAS has more markets normally, because where we have more market in terms of TCI, it means that we have more data to share, added value data, and we have more people on the ground also taking information. So I can tell you for sure, all Europe, in particularly. Yes, Europe, in particular North Europe, and I can tell you also North America. These are the most important, most relevant. Also because historically these are countries where the information, in particular Europe, where information are available, and also there is a tradition of business information. I see that Roger is typing.
Christian, we also have a question in the questions tab.
Okay. What are some success? No, okay. Can Urba integrate with other tools and software? Yes, because with an API integration, you can do it in the end whatever you want. So you can integrate Urba in every tool, every software. For example, ERP, CRM, it's super integratable. We have a success story with business integrator also here in the region, in my region. What are some success stories or case studies of company using Urba360? We have super interesting cases in automotive, in particular for the supply chain, because they need to cover all the supply chain, and they need to know very well which is the status of the suppliers, because they need to take action. Or, for example, in a financial institution for the pre-check of the new request, and in two market, transport logistic, the first one, because there is a big fragmentation of the portfolio, so it's very interesting for BI, and particularly after COVID, it comes to be a very interesting sector, and in agro-food also to cover the portfolio. How can you decide visible in Urba? Yes, I think that I give all the feedback in chat. Roger, would you please share feedback from Asian countries clients on Urba? Honestly, about Asian countries clients on Urba, I don't have all the details, but I can share you that normally we have in our region we have several customers. We have several customers in North Europe, and in Asia we are growing very, very fast in the last months due to the environment also.
Okay, seems like that's it with the questions that we have for this session. Thank you so much, Christian, for being
Thank you.
our
I hope it
wonderful
was
host.
interesting.
Yes, and for telling us all these details about Urba and its use cases. Well, for our participants, if you have any further questions and would like to dive deeper into how Urba can help you solve business challenges, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll be sharing the recording after this session and follow up with you in case you want some additional answers to your questions. Have a great day, everyone. We look forward to staying in touch and seeing you during our next webinars. Hopefully. Thank you very much. Good day.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Bye.